Hello, everyone. Can you see me on stage? If you can see me on stage in the chat, say, I see you. Can you see me on stage? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. We're so happy to have you here. I'm pulling up on the stage my co-founder, Alana Ross Brooks, and we're going to get started. I'm excited about tonight and our speakers. I know both of these women for a long time, and they're ready. They're ready to bring it and ready to encourage you. Even if you have a business already started, they're here to help you scale up your business by implementing some tricks, some trades of their trade, and get information. So make sure you sit back and listen to information. If you have questions, put your questions in the chat. We'll make sure that they get answered. We're first going to have our first speaker talk, and then we're going to have our second speaker talk, and then we're going to have open up for question and answers. So, Orlando, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm one half of the dynamic deal that is Women CEOs Rock. We are happy to have you. Me and my sister, we love to empower women into action. We like to inspire you in physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. That is our mission here at Women CEOs Rock. We are serial entrepreneurs ourselves, so this is something that we were very passionate about, and we wanted to create in the workforce as well as in the marketplace, a combination of everything that we represent as women, everything that we come from in our lineage as women, being entrepreneurs, leadership. We're both mothers. Again, like I said, entrepreneurship is very dear to our house, to our hearts, because of the fact that we wanted to create, again, a space that is a safe space for women to grow. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not have all your ducks in a row. We take care of that for you. We definitely bring speakers to inspire you, to give you the knowledge that you may not know, also to ask and answer some of the hard questions that you guys may have, that, it hasn't always been necessarily a safe space to not know these things, or to have a place to be able to talk about those things, to be vulnerable in business, to learn. If you're still on the fence, maybe you're still in the workforce and you're like, I kind of want to dip my toe in that water because I feel called to that. This is a safe space. We welcome you anywhere from being a seasoned business owner and also just learning new tools to do it different and keep thriving in an ever-changing world as the trends change. As you know, you have to constantly stretch and grow your business. This is what the She Shed that we present to you tonight is all about. It's giving you a place to lay your hair down, meet new women, align yourself with safe business partnerships, because we all need each other in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes we don't necessarily come from that background where it's safe to need other women, but it's a safe space. I assure you, welcome. We welcome you. We look forward to also learning from new things from you guys, and for you also to be a network to us as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that welcome, Alanda. So I am going to introduce our first speaker, and I'm going to read her bio, and then I will bring her up on stage. Okay. So our first speaker is Nancy Gusman. She is the owner of Brick House Consulting Services. Brick House Consulting Services provides consultation services to small companies. Their services include office management and business processing, re-engineering to improve efficiency and to reduce administrative costs. Their target audience is business owners with 0 to 50 employees who want to increase productivity and reduce overhead costs. Specifically, they specialize in consulting small business owners on growth strategies and office protocols such as day to day operations and processes, company policies and procedures, best use of team members, hiring and firing best practices, proper accounting and bookkeeping practices, management training, leadership skills, and practices that reduce liability. They can also provide specialized training and education for real estate brokers and real estate settlement and title escrow companies. Nancy Gussman is the owner, and her greatest passion is helping her clients grow their businesses from the inside out. As an attorney with 35 years in practice focusing on real estate and business law, she has the experience and expertise to help your operation grow revenue, increase efficiency, and transform your team's productivity. Her father was the CEO of a family owned business, which consisted of a large warehouse and 25 retail stores. Helping out from the age of 9 years old, she learned a lot about by observing how her father ran the business and interacted with employees, customers, competitors, and product and service providers. She has a deep and thorough understanding of general business operations, real estate investing, and title in the title industry, as well as business leadership, having owned four businesses and managed multiple title and escrow companies and law practices. It's this experience that has allowed her to lend her expertise to her clients, many of whom have grown to lend their own successful businesses, grow in their managerial skills, or achieving more success in their company roles. Equally important are her former team members, co-workers, and employees who have gone on to their own businesses or successfully managed someone else's business. So we want to welcome to the stage Nancy Gussman. As she comes, you have to, yep, there's your audio's on and your camera's on. Welcome to the stage.
Hi.
Welcome to the stage. Thank you
You.
for coming. And I'm going to leave the stage, but I'll be around. So if you need me up here,
Yeah.
I'll come on. Okay.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Tara.
Take it away, Nancy.
All right. It's really nice to be here today. I'm really excited. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. If I can remember how to do this again. Hold on. Um, I've got to find the window. It keeps disappearing on me, so just bear with me for a moment. Um, it's not working. Well, maybe I won't share my screen then, because now it doesn't want to work. Give me one more. I'm going to give it one more try, and if it doesn't work, we're going to quit. Okay, it's not there, so I will do this without slides, which is going to be fine. You guys just need to, take some notes. It's not. There's nothing here that's rocket science. I'm sure that most of what I'm going to be telling you is stuff that you already know. Um, so I am going to start by saying that I'm talking today about people who are starting their businesses, but a lot of these same things apply whether you are a startup or whether you have been in business for a while. I have several clients who have been in business for several years, and I'm coming in and I'm helping them kind of start over. I'm going through and I'm looking to see where they've been, where they are, and helping them get to where they're trying to go. So with that, the first thing I want to tell you is the secret of getting ahead is getting started. And that's a quote by Mark Twain. Um, Most people who want to start a business are a little bit tentative about it. And they sit back and they write down notes. They might spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years writing down notes of things that they think about, and this is what I want to do in my business, and this is how I'm going to do it, and etc. But they never actually do anything. They just make all these plans, but they never actually move on it. So the first thing we have to do is say, hey, there's no time like the present. Kind of like when I was 29 years old. My husband looked at me and said, "We're not waiting any longer to have kids because there's never going to be a good time. There's never a good time to start a business. You just have to do it." So there's 5 key steps to starting a business. The first thing you have to do is you have to conduct market research. You need to figure out the industry, your competitors, your target customers. We're going to come back and explain all of these a little in more detail. The second thing you need to do is to write a business plan. You need to choose your business structure. You need to determine how you're going to fund your business. And if you're going to need physical space, like office space or retail space, you need to secure that. You need to figure out where you're going to get your equipment and any initial inventory if you're selling a product. So I'm going to start with your target market. In order to define your target market, you have to have a clear description of the products and services that you're offering. From there, you need to answer the question, why does somebody need this product or service? And then the last question is, okay, so we've determined that we're going to offer this service. We know why somebody needs my service. And what are they going to get from me that they're not already getting in the marketplace? Because if you're exactly the same as somebody else, then you're probably going to be behind the 8 ball before you get started. So you want to define who your customer is going to be. You want to look at your customer's age, their gender, their income level, their geographic location, their interests, all kinds of things like that. You need to have like a picture of who is going to want your services, who's going to want your products. From there, you need to be able to understand how you are going to address those customers' pain points and their needs. Okay, so you probably have to do some sort of research in order to understand what those needs and pain points are. And then you need to analyze the market trends and your growth opportunities. So you want to look at the industry, you want to look at any emerging technologies that exist, you want to look at what your competitors are doing, and where the opportunities exist. Okay. The last thing that you want to do is open a coffee shop next to a Starbucks, because you probably don't have anything to offer that Starbucks isn't already offering. So you want to make sure of that. You also need to make sure that you've got longevity in your business. Okay. So maybe something's like the really hot thing on TikTok right now. But next year, the hot thing on TikTok is going to be something completely different, and nobody's going to want this product or service anymore. So you need to look at, is this still going to be relevant in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because if it's not, you need to rethink whether or not this is a good thing to do. The next thing I'm going to talk about is your business plan. Your business plan is your map. No business can be successful without having a business plan. When I started this particular company that I'm my consulting company, my business plan was in a 3-ring binder with tabs. And I was operating with that for a while until I had a reason that I needed to actually write a formal business plan. And I realized when I sat down to write my formal business plan, how much more helpful that was for me. Because now I had all of my stuff, all of those notes that I had put in this 3-ring binder, everything was now concise. And I actually go back and I review it. I'll be doing something and I'll go back and I'll go, what was it I had planned to do? And I go back to my business plan and I look at it, and that helps me resolve whatever it is my next step is. So what goes into a business plan? The first thing that is in a business plan is a description of your company. You'll have your vision statement, your mission statement. You'll say who the principals of the company are and what the structure of your company is. The second section is market research and development. So You want to look at the industry and the opportunities that exist in the industry. You want to see whether there's any regulatory restrictions or compliance issues. You're going to put in there a description of who your customer is. Okay, like we were looking at before. What's their gender? What's their age? What's their income level? What does your customer and client base look like? If applicable, then you might have in there a description of referral sources. So let's pretend that you're a real estate title company and you do real estate closings. So your customer base is the people who are buying and selling properties and refinancing their mortgages. Your referrals are coming from real estate agents and loan officers and such. Okay. So that would be your referral base, depending on what kind of a business that you are in. You also want to put in here, what are the advantages of your company over somebody else's? The next section is a full description of your product line or your services. Now you're going to go into detail. You're not going to just say, well, I sell beauty products. You're going to say, I'm selling shampoo and I'm selling conditioner and I'm selling all kinds of different makeups. And you might have branding in there that you want to put in. So you're going to list all of your products and services and what you're going to charge for them. Okay. And what you want to look at is, what's it cost for you to purchase or produce this product, and how much are you going to charge for it? So that in your business plan you can see what your profit margin is on each item. Okay, if it's services, there's sometimes a cost to providing a service. So you need to look at what your minimum cost is for your service when you're setting your prices for providing those services. You need to look at the product or service life cycle. Again, this is looking to see, when do people need to come back? Do they need to come back for a haircut every 6 months? Do they only need to come in once a year for a review of something? How often do your clients or customers need to come back after they've made the first purchase? And then you want to look at any intellectual property rights that you may need to address. And Tony is going to be talking about those with you. And then any research and development that you have done, you want to put that into your business plan as well. We then move on to your marketing and sales plan. Okay. What's your growth strategy? How do you plan to get from point A to point B? How do you plan to grow your business? How do you plan to communicate with your clients and customers? Do you plan to communicate with them through social media, through word of mouth, through an email campaign, through a snail mail campaign? All of those types of things are things that you need to look at. And then you also need to look at how to sell the product or the service. Okay. What is it that you need to do or say that is going to make somebody want to buy your product or your service? The second to last section of your business plan is management. So how are you going to manage your operations? What's going to be your organizational structure? What are your plans for staffing and outsourcing? So if you're just starting out, you probably don't have any employees. So you kind of have to plan out when you can add somebody in. Staffing is when you hire somebody and you're on your payroll and they're your employee. Outsourcing is more like hiring somebody who, like for me, I outsource my social media to Tara because I don't like doing social media. I don't like getting on social media. I'm really bad at social media, and I know that. And so I am outsourcing that off of my desk and onto Tara's desk. Some people will hire a virtual assistant to answer phones, to return emails, etc. So there are some people outsource their bookkeeping. So there's plenty of different opportunities to do that, depending on whether it's best to have an employee or just outsource the tasks. And then you need your policies and procedures. You probably don't need to have policies and procedures in place until you have employees. But once you hire your first employee, you do have to have that because you need to make sure that everybody in the company is always on the same page. Everybody's operating from the same set of instructions. The last section of your business plan is your finances. Okay. What are your startup expenses? You need to understand exactly what your startup expenses are. You then need to look at what are your projected operating revenues and expenses. Okay. So now you're up and running. What's going to be the day-to-day costs and expenses that you're going to have to incur? And how are you going to cover those expenses with your revenues? And you want to project that out. I use a year. I like to project out a year. You can always adjust, but that's my preference. And then how are you going to fund the startup and your working capital, excuse me, as you move forward? So now you need to choose what type of business you're going to have. You can have a sole proprietorship, which is just you. Hey, I'm Nancy Gussman and I'm out here doing this. Okay. You can have a general partnership, which is where you're in partnership with somebody else. You can have a limited partnership. You can have a limited liability company. You can have a limited liability partnership. You can have a corporation. And if you're a corporation, you can be an S type or a C type. I recommend to all of my clients, and I try to require them to do it when I can. I want you to check with your tax professional before you make a decision on what type of a structure you want for your company, because there are different tax advantages and different tax consequences depending on how you are set up. Once you've made that determination with your tax professional, you do need to consult with an attorney who can help you put together the appropriate documentation. What a lot of people do not understand is that just filing a document with the state is not sufficient. Almost all businesses have some sort of statutory requirements with regard to documentation. And so the next thing we're going to talk about is your financial plan. So you need to look at your startup funding. Where are you getting the money from? Are you taking it out of your savings? You're taking a bank loan? Do you have investors who are going to invest in it and provide you with the funding? There are crowdfunding opportunities out there. There's venture capital opportunities out there. There's probably more than just those that I just mentioned, but those are the most common. And then you also have to think about your ongoing finances. You need to create a budget. You need to think about how you're going to manage your bookkeeping and accounting. If you are taking out loans or any other funds that need to be repaid, how are you managing your debt service? How are you maintaining your working capital? You need to determine how you're going to get compensated. And that's, again, you need to talk to a tax professional, because sometimes it's best just to put yourself on payroll and do all the withholdings and all of that. And sometimes it is better to just pull funds out when they're available. So you need to work out a plan on that with your tax professional, how you're going to get compensated and how much you're going to compensate yourself. You also have to set up reserves. If you're bringing in $10,000 in revenues every month, you don't want $10,000 in expenses every month, because that doesn't leave you anything left over for unexpected expenses that may come up, or even a month where your revenues are down and you need to cover the regular expenses. And again, your income and expense projections for a year. And I go back and I review my projections, I'd say probably every 6 months to a year, depending on how business is flowing at any given time. I will go back and I will review those income and expense projections and see if I need to modify them so that I'm making sure that I'm staying on top of everything. The last section that we're going to address is your place of business. Okay, do you need an office, or can you work from home? If you're selling a product, do you need a retail space, or can you just sell your products online? If you do need an office, what kind of equipment do you need? And even if you're just working from home, what kind of equipment do you need? Do you need computers? Do you need printers? Do you need a large capacity copier? Um, Regardless of what that equipment is, you need to look and see what it's going to cost, and you need to figure out where you're going to get it from. If you are selling retail and you are taking out retail space, then you're going to need to look at cash registers and fixtures and things like that for stocking the store. Um, you also, if you're selling a product, you're going to have to look at how you're going to obtain your initial inventory. I'm trying to think. There's something else that just popped into my head. If you do have a retail operation, you've got to look at packaging. Like if you're doing online merchandising, then you need to know what kind of, are you going to have branded boxes and such that you're going to ship products in. If you are in a store, are you going to have branded bags to put the merchandise in? And so that's basically it. That's the whole thing. That's everything I could think of that you really need to know before you start a business. And as I said, I have clients who have been in business for a while. They didn't address all of these issues from the beginning. So now we're going back and we're addressing some of these issues, and we are kind of getting them restarted on some of these things. And that's what I've got for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sure that we're going to have questions, so make sure you stay around. We're going to have Tony come on the stage. That was great information. So good. So I'm going to have Tony come on stage. Actually, I have Alana come on stage, and Alana is going to. Yes. Oh, Nancy, let me bring you back on. Let me ask Nancy. I got you back on stage because that's a good question.
Yes.
Yes. Will you be able to share your slides?
Yes, I can. Okay. I can send them to you to distribute.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm about to bring Alana up on the stage, and she is going to introduce our next speaker, Tony Russell. Alana. There you go.
Hello. Awesome. Hello. Okay. Tony M. Russell currently serves as a business consultant for XCard LLC, providing support primarily in the area of intellectual property and contractual matters. Prior to joining XCard, Ms. Russell practiced law for over 20 years and has most recently worked as a registered representative in financial services area. She earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in chemical engineering from the Howard University in Washington, D.C. Therefore, after her professional career in consumer products manufacturing with Procter & Gamble in Staten Island, New York, instead of relocating when the company following the shutdown, she opted to change career paths and decided to attend law school. Since earning her Juris Doctor degree from Georgetown Law Center, Ms. Russell has worked as a private practitioner, as a trademark examining attorney for the United States Patent and Trademark Office. In private practice, she has worked on various matters such as regulatory compliance issues, registration of trademarks, real estate transactions, contract disputes, and as a trademark examining attorney, she reviewed and processed trademark applications to determine sustainability for federal trademark registration. Before joining the USPTO, Ms. Russell practiced for 6 years as a food and drug law attorney with the Washington, D.C.-based firm Keller Heckman, which is affiliated. While affiliated with Keller Heckman, Ms. Russell represented food, drug, and chemical companies on matters relating to U.S. FDA statutory and regulatory product clearance and compliance requirements. Given her passion for education as instilled by her late parents, both of whom are avid educators and community servants, Ms. Russell aesthetically tutors local youth in mathematics and science, and she is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Let us welcome Miss Russell, get your questions ready because this is very, very important in business.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction. That bio is a tad bit dated. I am still business consultant, but I'm also currently working with a local law firm here in Virginia, and I am licensed in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. I kind of miss that DC area. I don't miss the traffic. Um, but what I am here to talk with you all about, and thank you so much for the invite too. Um, I am going to share with you some information about intellectual property that, let's see here, that Nancy mentioned. Let's see, Nancy, if I can bring up my slides. Let's see if we got, all right. Okay, that, you all let me know if you can see it. Okay. Okay, great. All right. All right, so what I want to talk to you about, the three of the biggest branding mistakes. This is protecting your brand. And a lot of times folks consider their trademark as the brand, but really you are your brand. There are different things that make your brand. It's the colors, that the color scheme you use on Instagram, people know you by your colors. They know you by the quality of your service or your product. Have you been in business for 10 years and everyone knows that you have the best sweet potato pies, so different things make your brand. It's not just a trademark. All right, let's go to the next slide. If I can figure out how to do this. Okay. The three top mistakes. One, a lot of times business owners do not recognize the value of their brand. And like I said, a brand is more than a trademark. And we'll get more into that. But trademarks, people think of logos. But it can include the golden arches. When you see the golden arches, you know it's McDonald's. The swoosh, it's Nike. You don't need to see a word. You know it by the logo. You know what McDonald's French fries taste like. They don't taste like Wendy's fries. I mean, that's part of the brand. But a lot of times as business owners, we will get in there, work for years, increase biz now. There is a certain level of excellence that's associated with that trademark. But a lot of times people will get in there, they'll get their business plan going, and they're out on social media using different taglines and things, and they forget that everything they're using to build their brand needs to be protected because it is valuable. And that kind of goes into number two. Folks don't research before they start using something. A lot of times people say, such and such sounds very catchy, and it may be catchy, but do you know if someone else is using it? And with the internet, you have to consider that you may not, because I'm in Virginia right now. Well, my customers, I may have clients that are in California. So I have to go beyond research to see if someone may be using a certain logo or a catchy phrase here in Virginia. I need to know if someone's using it in California. I need to know if someone's using it in Ohio. So, how many times have I even seen on TikTok where people will put their blood, sweat, and tears into a product and a brand only to find out, a year or two down the road that someone else is using it. Here's another mistake people make. They think that if they establish their business entity in a certain state, like Nancy was talking about, you may have your corporation or you may have your LLC in your state. That does not mean that you own the trademark. There is a difference between the name of your business and a trademark. It could be one and the same, but you could be ABC Beverage Company and your trademark is Sunkissed. So just because you may have a LLC or corporation registered in a particular jurisdiction does not mean that you own the trademark. Um, Quick example, I do legal work for a local hairstylist. She has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, and she goes by the hair magician. Well, we filed a federal trademark registration application, which was approved. She's now had an active registration with her mark for over 5 years. And she started to see someone else on social media using the hair magician. So she very kindly reached out to the young lady and, just explained, hi, I've seen your information on social media, just wanted to let you know that I actually own the trademark for that. So if you would kindly revise your name. And what the young lady came back with was, well, this is the name of my LLC in a certain state. Well, that doesn't make a difference. My client owned a federal registration for that mark. So she has the right to police the use of her trademark in the United States. It didn't matter that she had her LLC or corporation set up under the same name in a particular state. So uh, research needs to be done before you really lock in. I like to meet with folks early on when they're developing their brand, because sometimes it's very difficult for folks to divorce themselves from a name that they've gotten attached to, but then they find out that someone else is using it. Number three, folks don't do anything to protect their brand before they use it on public platforms or in the marketplace. Okay. See if I can get to the next slide. Okay. Your brand is valuable. And as I've said before, your brand is a reflection of your business and how you want your business to show up in the marketplace. Very intentional about how you represent your business. You don't want to, for example, we probably all know someone in town that is a little nasty acting. Or we know that hairstylist and her hair is always busted. Well, who wants to go get their hair done from her, right? Um, so the other item I would bring up is, you want to protect your brand from would-be infringers, like the hairstylist. When you have a trademark registration basically helps you to protect your trademark, but it doesn't mean that it's end all be all. You have to be vigilant, especially with the internet. You have to be vigilant about, is someone else using my trademark? Because if you don't, your trademark is going to get watered down. You have to be very aggressive about protecting your trademark rights. So if you ever see anyone using it and you want to, they actually have services that'll keep an eye out for you, but you definitely have to stay on top of people infringing it. You could either agree to license the use of your trademark to others, which could be additional income for you, or you can just shut them down, cease and desist. What the registration helps you to do is, if you have to drag them to court, that registration is evidence that you are the owner. And so that's why it's very important to protect that. So it's, your social media names. You may have, like the hair magician. I go by the beauty and law attorney right now. That's only because I have a niche for folks in the beauty industry, hairstylists, barbers, nail technicians, but I help everyone. But I just happen to start this type of business in that niche, in that marketplace. Let's see, names used together with digital content, your brand name or logos for your products or services. You also have to be careful with these logos. Sometimes people will use clip art, or I think Wix is a service. You have to be careful when you're using those type of services. You want to be aware of their legal policies. You don't want to use clip art or something, but really the company owns trademark or copyright protection in it. So you want to be careful about that. It's always better to have a unique original design. Hire an artist to design a logo for you, or a graphic designer. But then even with that, you want to be careful with the artist or the graphic designer. You want it to be a work for hire, because you don't want them coming back later saying, when you blow up, saying, well, I designed that mark, I have trademarks. So you want to be careful about that as well. I know this is a lot of information. And so I want to try to keep it as basic and simple as possible, but I feel myself getting into the weeds. So I'm going to try to back it up a little bit, ladies. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. All right. Doing your research. Similar to what Nancy was talking about, you can use your basic internet search engines, your Bings, Google, to put in your trade name, your trademark, and see if anyone's using it. Sometimes you may have folks using it, but maybe they have a handful of followers, or they don't really have any customers. I have had a situation where I had a church organization that wanted to register a certain trademark. When I did a common law search to see if anyone was using it, I did find another ministry that was using it, a ministry out in Texas, but they weren't doing a whole lot with it. They had a web page that didn't look like it was that active. And so at that point, I had to put it to the client, and they didn't have the trademark registered, by the way, but I could see that they were out there. And at that point, it was up to the client as to whether or not they wanted to pursue the trademark. And in that case, they did pursue it, and actually that application was approved. Is your trademark creative? Let's think about the Apple computer. What does an Apple have to be with a computer? But it was a genius trademark, because Apple computers, Apple products. I mean, even the stores in the mall, there's no wording. It's just an apple, but exactly what they're talking about. So is your trademark unique? Is it creative? You don't want to trademark for donuts, sweet, fluffy donuts. Okay, donuts are already sweet. We know that. And if it's good, it's going to be fluffy, even though I know some people like the donuts that are like cake. But, maybe use an elephant. Now, why would I say that? Delta Sigma Theta, an elephant for donuts or what have you. But the point I'm making is, the more creative the logo or your mark to your product or service, the better. Okay. Is this my final answer? Okay. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you may develop a mark, but as you go through marketing, you may tweak your mark a little bit. The problem that someone like me in my position would have, if you tell me that this is going to be your logo, the Patent and Trademark Office will register what you apply for. If you come back at the end of the process and say, well, I decided to tweak this, which is happening to me now we have to modify your application, and it may or may not fly. You may end up having to start all over again. So my point with this, and it ties into what Nancy was talking about in developing your business plan, really hone in on what you want your trademark or your service mark to be. Because when you get into that application process, you don't want to have to come back and take the chance that, well, I've tweaked it now, but now it doesn't look anything like what it did, first. So now I have to apply all over again. And you don't get those fees back. When you submit an application for the Patent and Trademark Office, whether it's approved or not, you do not get that feedback. So that's why, that's what it means. Is this my final answer? Is this the trademark that I want to go with? I keep saying trademark, but there are two things. A trademark goes for if you're selling a thing. If I sell a thing and I have a mark associated, it's a trademark. If I offer services, it's a service mark. Some folks who offer services will still use the trademark symbol just because they like TM rather than SM. But there's a difference between service and trademark. And there I go getting into the weeds again. You guys don't care about that. Okay. Do something to protect your investment. Nancy said the biggest thing is just to get started. And I have to say, Nancy, I was one of those people. I probably have about 50 business plans written around here, and still need to go on and get it going and get it started. But do something to protect your investment, to protect your intellectual property. Take action to protect your brand. I have here proper trademark or copyright notices, statements for labeling and marketing. Nancy was talking about if you have a retail business, maybe you have some packaging that is unique to your business. If you have, well, anything you put on your website, informational, that's copyright protected. Let's see, if you have an instruction manual, whatever is creative would be protected by copyright. And that may be a good point to talk about the different types of intellectual property. I've been focusing on trademarks, but there is copyright, which is for artistic works. It could be a song, lyrics. It could be poetry, books, of course, photographs. It could be, like I said, the content on your website. All of that is copyright protected. And you will often see, if you go to anyone's website, if you go to the very bottom, you will often see a copyright notice at the foot of the website page. Patents. Patents are inventions. They are for, you can have a patent on even a design, the shape of a Coca-Cola bottle. That was patentable. You can have a design that would be called a design patent, the shape of something. You want to design a pocketbook that has a unique shape. You could apply for a patent for that. Sometimes folks will get trademarks and copyrights confused, but a trademark is something that you use to identify your goods or your service. Copyrights are to protect something that you create. Now, you can't copyright a title of a book, for example. There has to be more there. You can't copyright a slogan. You might be able to trademark it depending on what you use it with. And again, a patent is for inventions. Okay, so how do you protect your intellectual property? Trademark registrations, copyright notices, filing a patent application. Let me give you something for business owners tonight that have a trademark out there, but you haven't registered it. You haven't registered it within your state. You haven't registered it with the Patent and Trademark Office. Trademark rights. You have a trademark right when you use a mark in the marketplace. When customers see your trademark, if you're using your trademark in social media, advertising your business, you have trademark rights, but you have to protect them. So before you even start a registration process, what I want you to do is, if you have a thing, I want you to put the subscript TM for trademark on wherever you use your logo. If you have your logo on social media, I want you to go tonight and use a subscript TM if you're selling a thing, SM if you're selling a service. What does that do? Because you have rights in your mark when you use it in the marketplace, you have a common law right to attach a symbol on your mark, a TM for trademark or an SM for service mark. What that does, it functions as a notice to the public that this is not just some little cute name, but this is your intention is to use it as a trademark to identify your brand. You want to start doing that. You want to put it on your business cards. You want to put it on, I don't care, on your flyers, wherever you use your trade name or your service mark. You want to use either a superscript or a subscript. It doesn't matter, but you want to attach it close to your mark so that at least that's one layer of protection that if you have to take someone to court one day, you can at least say, as of January 23rd, 2024, I was using the trademark or the service mark symbol. So they should have known that I was using it as a trademark. So that's what I want you all to do if it hasn't been registered yet. Licensing agreements. Suppose you own the registration for your trademark or your service mark. Someone in Kalamazoo is using your mark. You put them on notice. Look, either you shut it down or I will agree to grant you a license to use it, but now you have to pay me such and such amount of money. All right. And then the last one, of course, I've already been talking about is either copyright or trademark registrations. Let me say this. In developing your brand, you want it to be unique. You want to do research to see if someone else is using it. If you get to the point where you see, well, either no one's using it at all, or I see someone using it, but doesn't look like they've been active in the last 3 years. Before you start throwing this trademark around or service mark around, or before you file for an application for registration, make sure you reserve your domain name. I have 5 or 6 domain names that I have reserved. I'm not using them right now, but they're reserved because what happens is there are people who watch what the trademark applications are. They scurry to buy the domain names for $12, $15, $20. And then when you go to get the domain name, it's not available. Now you have to come to them and pay them whatever they're asking for if you really want it. So I'll just throw that in too. Okay, last slide, ladies. Okay. Without knowledge, action is useless, and knowledge without action is futile. That is not my quote, but it is applicable here to your intellectual property. And that's just my contact information. Part of, I've been struggling for a long time to figure out, Lord, what is my purpose? And my purpose is to uplift, to assist, and support women in business. So whatever I can do to help you all, glad to do so. Oh, costs. Oh, Tara, I don't want to speak out of line. Should I wait to talk about cost, or can I answer that now since I see that question?
Sorry, I thought I was my microphone was on. Yeah, stop sharing your screen. I'm gonna bring everyone up, and we're gonna go into question and answers. So thank you, ladies, for the information. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Tony, for willingness to come out and share with us. We're gonna tackle some of the questions that were in the chat. And if there's more questions, this is where you guys can ask more. There was a question in the chat. I believe it was answered, but let's make sure. And first of all, everyone's going to get the replay. And if the speakers will share their notes with me or their slides, then we'll make sure everyone gets that information as well. Everyone that's on this call this evening, or there also will be a link on the website for a replay at later on after this, tomorrow or something like that. So are all these the costs that you both were talking about? Because there's a cost to work with you, Nancy, and there's a cost to work with you, Tony. Are they write-offs for business expenses? Whoever wants to answer first.
Most of them probably are. As an attorney, I always tell people to double check all of that with your tax professional. The tax laws change on a regular basis. And since that's not my area of practice, I don't keep up with it.
All right. The next question is, you want to answer that, Tony? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was another piece. Would you repeat that question, please? I thought there was another piece.
Well, I'm going to go to the next question. You might have saw that, but it was like, are all of these write-offs as business setup expenses? That's what that other piece was. But then the other one is, what kind of costs are you talking about to properly register a trademark service mark?
Okay, so there are 2 layers of registration for trademark. If you have a service that you're only offering to folks within your state, or, within a couple of states, or services that, suppose I'm practicing law, but only for Virginia residents, then it may be sufficient to just register your business within your state. So in the state of Virginia, I mean, every state's going to have a different cost, but in the state of Virginia, I believe it's $40, 35 or $40 to register a trademark within the state. Now, again, that's only going to give you protection within your own state. If you have a social media presence, or you can service people in various areas, you want to key in on federal registration. Right now, the Patent and Trademark Office charges $250 to $275 per application. The application is based on what type of goods or service you use your trademark with. Let's suppose, like for beauty and law attorney, I filed an application for business consulting services. That's $250. Suppose I want to expand it to legal services also. That's another $250. How do you make a decision what to file for first? It depends on your business model. Like Nancy was talking about, what's your growth strategy? If I know that, for example, when I wrote that bio, I had not reactivated my law license yet. So I marketed myself as a business consultant. If I know that I'm going to spend the first 6 months promoting business consulting services, then that's what I'm going to register my mark for. If I secure that, then if someone comes behind me for a related service, they're going to be rejected, because what happens at the Patent and Trademark Office, it's not just if you act for the exact same services, but if you have related services. For example, if I registered a mark for hairstyling services, but I know eventually I want to have some silk pillowcases, and you see my edges. Suppose I want to market some balm or some bring your edges back, but I'm not ready to do that yet. If I register my mark for hairstyling services, if someone comes behind me for hair related products, they're going to get shut down by the examiner because it's too close to hairstyling services. But the other thing is, I have to be on my game, and I got to keep watching if someone is trying to register a mark in something related. So you if you only got $250, you throw it at the product that you're going to market the most at that time. And then the other ones can come behind it later, the related marks or the related services and products.
That was good. I have a reference to what that happened to me before. So
I get it.
So the next question is, what should I know to make an appropriate choice between LLC, general, and limited business?
So when you're determining the structure of your business, there's two major considerations. One is asset protection, and the other is taxes. I always prioritize the IRS because they're going to be a lot more important than whoever's trying to sue you. And they're a constant. You may not ever get sued. So I always vote in favor of looking at your tax liabilities and advantages first. And then once you've looked at what those are, then we can talk about the asset protection. So you're talking to two different people. You're talking to your tax professional, and then you're talking to an attorney.
So that was a loaded answer. Can you break that down? Because I know when people are just getting started, like I understood that because I've been in business for 24 years. But I think that somebody, I know when I started, I would have like, huh? What are you talking about? So I guess, can you break that down a little bit more layman terms?
Yes. So when you are just general sole proprietorship or general partnership, there's like no protection at all from anything. Okay. It's just you're out there operating. So I'm Nancy Gussman, and I am doing trading as Gussman Consulting. I've got no formal entity set up. Okay. Um, a corporation is going to give you the most protection because there is what we call a corporate shield, and your corporation is a completely separate entity from you. Okay. A limited liability company and some of the other limited things that are in between, um, they provide limited asset protection. Okay. So part of it depends. So if you're an LLC, you have an option of how you're going to um, get treated by the IRS. And depending on which option you take, you might have more protection or less protection with regard to um, taxes and with regard to asset protection. For the most part, most people go with an LLC at the beginning because it's easy. There's not as many statutory requirements. Um, and so, you're just operating out there, and it does separate you for asset liability for the most part. Not 100%, but for the most part, it does separate you out as a separate entity for asset protection. Um, as you grow, you may end up deciding to convert to a corporation. I did that with one of my businesses. I started out as an LLC, and after a few years, after I was actually had some money coming in the door, and I had employees, and I was doing all these things, my accountant came to me and said, "Yeah, we have to change you over to a corporation now." And so we did. It's not a hard process. So it's really a matter of balancing that between your tax professional and your attorney to decide what's going to be the best thing for you right now and where you may end up going in the future.
That's good to know. Like seriously good to know. So
Well,
for
and a
those,
lot of people are. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
A lot of people just are told you have to have an LLC, and they go online to
Mm,
the state registration, and they file this articles of organization, and now I'm an LLC, and it's not that easy. You're not an LLC just because you filed a piece of paper with the state. There's additional documentation that's required by statute. And if you don't
yeah.
have that additional documentation, and if that additional documentation is something that you just downloaded over on LegalZoom and filled in the blanks yourself, you may not have any protection.
Yeah, and I think, can I add something? I'm not an attorney, but as somebody that has disclaimer list, somebody that has businesses, and if you want to grow your business at multiple locations too, it's very important to do your due diligence because the laws change from state to state. And that is very important to know too. That's why we were like, me and Tar was like, this is so important because we always tell people get started, but once you start along that journey, please pick up as many nuggets as you possibly can because like Nancy said, like you get to your business might be like just the idea, right? And you start it and it takes off and you like, listen, I didn't think I was gonna make $100,000 my first year. And you just keep going, right? Because in your mind you're like, I'm still a new business, right? And so you like, and you hear this the first 5 years or whatever, but baby, listen, if your business take off that fast, please get some people, get a system, get a team, get a
Mm-hmm.
coach, get an
That's
attorney,
so
get an accountant. Like, go
that's so
ahead,
funny that you said that because I was just going to say that in this journey, you also need to start identifying people for your team. Something that I used to speak with the hairstylist Lachey. She's an artist, and she wore all the hats in the beginning, but as she got bigger, she needed to start identifying people. Nancy's already talked about a CPA, an attorney. It's also important to have a local banker.
that is very important. And as somebody that has a cosmetology background for 24 years, if anything, I can tell you, get your money people in order first, for real, because like, literally I started cosmetology when I was 16 years old. In the first 4 months I made $50,000. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of money for a 16-year-old back
Yeah.
in the 2000s. And
Yeah.
so of course, I was still a minor. I didn't know anything about taxes, but thank God I've had the same accountant for 24 years, and God brought her in my life, by way of, a whole nother job I was working, but literally, and as you said, you mentioned earlier too, Nancy, how the tax laws change every year, just also knowing how to make your money work for you is very, very, very important. And you're right, Tony, you got to get your people in order. That's the first nugget that I would tell you. Like, get your
Yes.
people in order,
Your financial
lock your
planner.
team in.
Well,
And it's
the
okay to switch your team up, but you got to have some solid people
mm-hmm.
when you go and especially because we're doing business in a very viral age. When I first started doing business, it was very hard to start, you know what I'm saying, and get access to finances. And now it's not that way. Like, now we have so many more options than we had, and you can come into money, and there's everything is monetized. Where back in the day, and I can say that even though I'm young, back in the day, like, it was like very hard to get a bank loan and to get capital, right? And so now, like, everything is income revenue producing. Really, you can make money so many different ways. So you be thinking like, oh, I made $100 on Facebook, and you made $100 every month for 12 months. That's $1,200 now that the IRS is like, excuse me, we need our piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even you like, oh, I got 5 years, or I'm gonna get my system together. Like, no, baby, no. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to get your systems in order.
Well, and in the reverse, you need to be practical at the beginning. I have a client, I have a new client who comes in, and my very first question to him is, "What are your income goals for 2024?" And he says 2.5 million. So I'm like, okay. So I went down after our meeting. I went and I looked at what he charges for his services, and I broke that down, and it was physically impossible for him to make that much money because he couldn't possibly do that many jobs physically in a 12-month period.
Because he didn't have a team.
No, well, yeah. I mean, he's startup. It's just him. He doesn't even have any business. He doesn't even have any contracts yet, and we're in the middle of January, so he's already lost the first 2 weeks of the month.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any jobs, so he's really lost the first month or two of the year, and he's a one-man band.
Yeah, that's
There's no, and I said to him, I said, I think you need to go back and rework this.
if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, well, opposite. But like, yeah, you have to have a system, and you have to have a team to make those big figures. You're absolutely right. You have to have a
Mm-hmm.
system. And I know, like, even like, I go back to cosmetology because that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor. Like, having I used to look at different structures. I was blessed to be able to manage different structures in the cosmetology field. So that made me, by the time I launched out to get my own brick and mortar, it helped me do business better because I had studied all the inner workings of the different systems and how you can do that. And so, like you said, Nancy, you have to do research, right? And so I was able to work out the kinks, what I knew was going to work for me, what I know I didn't want to do, how to keep the lean seasons going, and so on and so forth. And so, you know, you have to have a team of people. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, wherever you start, you have to have a team of people. And that was the thing, a concept, like, where some sellers were like, I don't want a shampoo girl, but you want to come in and you want to do, you want your, like you said, your income says that you got to do 40 people, and you can't be all things to all those 40 people and move efficiently, still be able to walk out of here on the two legs that you're standing on to conduct this business,
Mm-hmm.
and literally, you have to have systems. So you have to give up some ideas of where you want to have control in your business. And I think one of the myths too that I could dispel for anybody is that I can't afford it, because a lot of things you can't afford not to do, especially on
Yeah.
the ground level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to jump to the next question.
Well,
Uh,
let's jump, instead of jumping to the next question, we'll come back to that real quick. We'll come back to let's go to where it says a little bit more
yeah.
information on,
Stacy, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's where you're going to go?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
because it made more sense where we're at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
A little more information on additional documents for LLCs.
So again, it's going to depend on what state you are domesticating in, which state you're filing in. In general, you are required to have an operating agreement. And what I tell people is, with your LLC, when you file your articles with the state, you're giving birth. Your operating agreement is your brain. And that is what's going to run your business. So your operating agreement has to lay out exactly how the business is going to run. Keeping up with your annual personal property taxes to the state is your heart. And if you stop paying your taxes, if you don't pay your taxes 1 year, your heart stops. The state's going to forfeit your business and you no longer exist. So that's how I put it together. An operating agreement is very similar to corporate bylaws. Most people are familiar with the term bylaws for a corporation. Your operating agreement is basically the LLC version of bylaws.
Yeah. And Nancy's right; it does vary state by state. Because in Maryland, it's a good chunk of change. It's like $397 a year. Where in Ohio, I think it's just a one time. It's just a one
$99.
time. And so, Miss Stacy, you're in Delaware. I'm not sure what the price point is there, but I'm sure it's probably low because a lot of people go to Delaware to file their business. So, it just really depends on state by state. Even though I heard Maryland is trying to pass a law and not having that tax, but it hasn't passed yet. So you got to
And
make
it's
sure you keep
even
on that.
changed in the state of Ohio, because it used to be, when I first got my salon like 14 years ago, it was $125. It was almost like, and they had different articles that you had to file, and they varied in price, and then now it's like a standard $99. So like,
Yeah. And then in Maryland, if you don't renew it, it tax on. So you leave, your business says, what is it? It says not in good standing. So you don't want that to happen. They'll go to the website, and people that are looking for your business, they'll see not in good standing. And then to get it in good standing and to keep that name, because when you file a name, you have all that track record with the business and people that you dealt with. So it will say, you'll owe them $397 for I don't know how many years that it goes unpaid. So it's not something to play with. It's not something that you want to do because it's about protecting your brand.
Right.
that's kind of how the cosmetology license is.
I thought it was $397 a year. Okay. I don't know. I thought it was $397. Maybe it's $300. But
it's high.
Whatever it is,
it's expensive.
I'd rather pay $300. So thank you, Angela. I'd rather pay $300 than $397.
And if you have more than one business, you're paying it for each business.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe it's gone down, because I know when we looked, it was higher than 300. I know for sure it was like maybe 325 or something like that.
I don't know what it is at the moment, but keep in mind, if you're not in good standing, your heart has stopped. Yeah, and you have no authority to transact business if you're not in good standing.
Yeah. So you have to make sure you're in good standing, because if you're trying to get a loan or get contracts or anything like that, they're going to look at that website, whichever state you are in, and they're going to make sure you're in good standing. So let's go back up to the other question. So I believe this is for Nancy, but either or can answer. It says, are either of you versed in helping to form a nonprofit, specifically preparing to apply for a non-exempt status?
Not me.
I've done a few.
Okay.
It's actually more of a streamlined process now than it used to be.
Okay. So um, that's who we did. That's who you need to talk to is then as Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Both ladies, before we get to the next question, both ladies have given you guys their contact information. They both have services that they provide in helping you start your business, or form some type of, trademark or whatever it is. You can definitely contact both of them. Nancy and Tony, make sure if you know how to do the chat, make sure you put your information in the chat. I mean,
Okay.
it'll be shared with everyone too, but I just want to make sure that people have a reference point to go back to, because I know that when you get new information, listen to what you say. I do some research and I come back around and then I have questions. So I might not think of the question right here, but yeah, you may think of it later and may want to ask them.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought was so interesting and that we never did prior to our business that we have in place now is a partnership agreement, because my husband and I are in business, and I didn't realize that if one of us was to stop living, like if we don't have a partnership agreement in place, like the government can come in and be one of our partners because we did not say what's going to happen to the business if something happened to us. So that's something that we
And that's scary.
yeah, it is. It is. It is. Can you speak a little bit more about that, Nancy? The partnership agreement, or like, as if someone does have a partner in their business, how does that work?
So you want to have you do want to have a partnership agreement, which lays out the responsibilities of each partner and what their relationship is to each other, how any profits, etc., are going to be split, how distributions are going to be made, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that you can help people with, right, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, great, awesome.
I also want to piggyback too, because we had a forum about this too in last year. If you are looking into getting your business any type of minority certification or anything like that for your business too, that is also an article that you would need for minority certification as well.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and do it. It's a building step for sure.
Well, and as you're saying that, I also want to point out that oftentimes you want to be a woman owned or a black owned or a Christian owned or whatever owned business for the sake of those grants that are available out there. You do not necessarily, when you're thinking about your branding, you want to think about whether or not you want to use that in your branding, because there's pros and cons to using it in your branding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there is pros and cons to that. Yeah. I mean, you want to get the money, man. You want to get the grants and all this stuff like that, but you definitely have to think
It
about
does start to box you in, though.
Right.
It does sometimes, yeah. It does sometimes. So,
any other questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat. You guys asked some really good questions. There is no question too small or too big.
Nope.
So.
No such thing as a stupid question.
And if it's too big, they'll just be like, hey, private consultation after here. But at least, it'll put it on their brain.
I just want to make sure I was hearing Tony right. So after tonight, I can go and put an SM or a TM in my logo. But then I need to follow it up with a consultation with you so we can make that official and I make payment for it, right?
Yeah. So you definitely want to put the SM or the TM. That's something you can do right now. But that's just one layer of protection. You also need to have it registered, because the registration is bona fide proof that you own the trademark. Because otherwise, I mean, it's costly to get into a trademark battle with people. I have a local bakery shop owner. She's been using her logo for about 18 years. But someone else has it registered. She just never thought about doing it. Someone else has it registered federally. And so what she decided to do was, just for now, at least register it for the state of Virginia. And So the thought with that is kind of like, well, no one said anything yet, but if she blows up, which we've had this conversation, if she blows up, if that person still has an active trademark registration, they can either tell her cease and desist, or you got to pay us a licensing fee. So I basically showed her how that registration, every 5 years you have to renew. So once you get a registration, you're not just done. Every 5 years you have to tell the Patent and Trademark Office, I'm still using it. Because remember, I said you have trademark rights when you use it. You don't use it, you don't have trademark rights in it. So I think they're up, actually maybe this year. She is on point. She is checking, because she's like, the minute if they don't file, I'm in there. But at least she has a registration for Virginia. Now they haven't said anything, and they probably won't know, but at least she has that level, that state level of protection. And then, of course, the most protection you're going to have is with the Patent and Trademark Office, but you have to use it. You can't register something and then, well, I'll use it 5 years from now. You'll have a conditional approval, but they're not going to register it until they have proof that you're actually using it.
So I have a question. Sure. Why does it take so long sometimes for the trademark to come back? Because I know, like, I've seen people like it almost took a year for them to or I've seen people, like, most people, I know it takes about like 6 months to a year. Is it because well, go ahead. You go ahead.
Yes. So when I first started working with the Patent and Trademark Office, it's when the .coms had just gotten popular and they were slammed. And so it depends on the workload, what's going on in the economy. And it had gotten so bad. And to see what happened now, the reason why it takes so long now, and to be honest with you, 6 months is like lightning speed, to be honest with you. But typically it's around a year. But when COVID happened, everyone is at home formulating their businesses and coming up with a trademark. So the Patent and Trademark Office got absolutely slammed during COVID. And what they did was they have actually hired third parties to review some of these applications, because I started getting some crazy responses. That's good and bad, because now you have these people who haven't necessarily had the same level of training that someone with the Patent and Trademark Office has had. Because I've gotten some crazy responses, and other people have too. It's because it's like, oh yeah, you weren't trained by the Patent and Trademark Office. You're like, yeah, So they have hired these third parties to kind of help with that, because they know that they're behind. But what happens is now when you apply, they will literally tell you, okay, it's going to take us 6 months to even look at this. Because what happens is it goes into a file room. Well, it used to go into a file room with paper, but now it's like a database. And what they do is, once the examiner has gotten some files off their desk, then they'll go and they'll scoop out a few more. But you may have an application for a year or so, so it just depends on their staffing and what's going on in the marketplace. Right now, they're digging out from the COVID slam.
Yeah, and someone said in the comments, get them in before the election, which I definitely would recommend. Yeah. So someone else asked, so can I protect the service programs offered in my business?
Can I protect the service programs?
So like if I have a service that I provide, can I protect the wording or the name of the service and the content, whatever the actions are of the service, so that no one can come behind me and look at my website? I'm like, that's a great service. Let me offer that too. That type of thing.
Well, the content can be protected. Like we had talked about that for you, Nancy, and some of the things you're going to be developing to copyright protect it. So if it's like a manual, instructions, how to do this, the content, that's one of the levels of protecting. I said the copyright disclosures. So you may have printed materials and you have your copyright disclosure. And then it's up to that person to be vigilant about, is someone using it? We, in the past, we had a client, she was a hairstylist. She did braids, Breslin braids, I think it was. Someone literally used her same photographs and description, the same photographs, like copy and paste, and put their name on it. So we had to send them a cease and desist letter. but her husband was very vigilant about, let me check out these other hair braiders and what they're saying.
But
So
Yeah, that's very common in the hair world,
yeah.
unfortunately.
oh
But you
yeah, so
can,
you
but you cannot
definitely have
prevent
to be
somebody from
mindful.
competing with you on a service. You
Say,
can,
say that
you cannot prevent somebody from competing with you on a service.
on the
You can
service,
prevent
right?
them from using your
Your content.
materials and your
That's right.
content,
That's
but
right.
you cannot prevent them from providing a similar service.
That's correct.
And the unfortunate thing in the hair industry is it's not even so much that people are trying to infringe upon your copywriting, your content. It's just that clients begin to get familiar with the term when they start to see pictures. So it's like when you're in certain, industries like that, it's kind of touchy, only because of the fact that technically, you go through this era, right, where there's a shifting of what certain things are called. Like we in a certain area, Alicia Keys braids was a big thing, and then now they're Fulani braids, and it's the same exact style, but it's just that this is what clients begin to get familiar with when it starts to back up trend and become trendy again. So then they're just calling it that type of thing. So then other people don't do their due diligence to come up with their own thing. They're just like, all right, I just want to get the money and I want to provide the service. So yeah, whatever. If they could be lemonades tomorrow, they could be Alicia Keys yesterday, and next week they could be Beyonce braids again. Like they don't care. It's unfortunate, but it's like when you have something that's on the uptick, that's why it's good to copyright those types of things, like you said. And then use things like apps where you can watermark your photos and stuff. Like I tell people that, especially in the the fashion industry, the cosmetology industry, watermark your photos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
And
good information.
just
Go
like
ahead.
what Nancy said about the marketing strategy, because you have so many people copying so quickly with internet, you want to have a plan to get out there and penetrate the market as deeply as you can, as quickly as you can, so you're known as like the OG, the original.
Well, and I'm gonna give an example. I have a client that I'm working with to create an app, and there is not another app out there that does this. We can trademark it, but we cannot prevent somebody from coming up with this exact same service that we're providing in this app.
With Xcard, they have an app too, and they
Mhm.
wanted to file a patent. And I
Mhm.
said, maybe you want to not patent it because it's going to come a public record, but keep it a trade secret.
Yeah. We
Mm.
what we're doing is actually tacking on to other services that you can get online. It's just not in a phone app right now. And so therefore we can't, the only thing we can do is try to be the first out there.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah, yeah.
sometimes keeping a secret. I even had someone who had she's deceased now, bless her heart, but she had this recipe for this phenomenal iced tea, but she had like secret ingredients, and they wanted to file something. And I'm like, why? There's probably no one in Coca-Cola who knows the entire formula. People
Mhm.
know bits and pieces. Don't
Right.
disclose that.
Yeah, that's what I would say about like the services. Like don't you can utilize, if you guys haven't heard about ChatGPT, utilize ChatGPT and ask for a summary or how you can summarize this without giving up the secret sauce to whatever the service you're providing. If it's something specific, you can utilize that platform to sort of help you with the content of writing what it is you want to provide, but not providing the way that you provide it, so to
Mhm.
speak. Go ahead, Tony. You want to say something?
One thing I just add with that, which that is a good tool, but be careful, especially in the legal field. It has been known to give some kind of like not accurate, but it is a good resource. Just do your research and just
Do
but
your
the
due
thing
It's not
diligence.
also is
foolproof, yeah, for
a lot
sure.
of times part of your brand is you.
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
buy you.
yeah, that's
So
very true.
that's oh, sorry about that. That's my daughter must be home because her dog's going crazy. Um, So that's what I was also talking about with the branding. How do you show up in the marketplace? How you show up in the marketplace? That's part of
Someone
your brand.
someone asked a question. It says, so in the SM, should we CR our intake forms, applications? I'm not sure what CR is, but
Copyright.
oh,
Copyright. Yeah.
copyright.
You can
Okay.
copyright your forms and stuff.
Okay. You can some of the forms you can. It just it's each case is unique. So I would have to look at the content, because some things you have to have enough there to rise to the level of registration. So I would have to take a look. Oh, I don't know if you can. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, when I say, I don't know, you may not be able to see this. It's backwards, isn't it? But when I say like
Yeah, but we
superscript, you
see
see how that SM is there?
No,
So that's
Yeah.
it shows up
It's
correctly.
good.
okay. So that's what I mean, and that is a common law service mark, or you could use a TM, but everybody should be using that. Everybody who uses whether it's a design by itself or combination, you can even have okay, my client, her trademark is Silver Spoon. She does catering services. Sometimes it says catering services, Silver Spoon bakery and catering services, Silver Spoon da 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 da, but only the Silver Spoon part is what she wants to be a trademark. So you may have a clump of words, but there may only be maybe the design or maybe one word in there that you actually want to use as your trademark. So again, just focusing on what it is exactly you want as your trademark, because whatever you register, that's what you'll have protection for.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question about that real quick? So I have very unique logos. And so my names are also very unique. So I know there's different articles, obviously, of trademarking. What should take the area of precedence? Like, say for somebody new coming, for me, I was just like, I'm doing them all because I need my stuff protected because I'm a creative like that. But for somebody coming along, like say they have a choice, right? Should you trademark your name first or your logo? If you had to pick between the two, like to start off.
If I had to pick between the two, it would depend on what do I use the most in the marketplace. If I use my business name most of the time, my logo here and there, I would do my name first. Whatever's going to give me the biggest bang in the market. What do customers see the most? Put it that way. What do customers see the most? Because the whole thing about a trademark is how customers identify you, like the swoosh for Nike or the arches. So are they more familiar with your name, or would they recognize your logo more, more often? Now, if it's kind of half and half, you got to suck it up and protect them both. But if you rely on more than the other for your presence in the marketplace, I would do that. And I wouldn't take a long time to follow up with the second one, but whatever mark I used that has the most market penetration, that's what I would do. Oh, here's something else. When you're preparing for a trademark application, 2 dates that are very important. The first date you ever used a trademark, it could have been 20 years ago. The first date you ever used a trademark or a service mark anywhere. And then the second date that's key for a patent and trademark application is, when's the first time you used it in interstate commerce? When's the first time you used it with somebody out of state? They want to know both those dates.
That's good information. There was another question, a follow-up to the services when we were asking the question about the services. She says that my service is for previously incarcerated teens, and she was thinking of protecting the way our service is delivered. Maybe it's in the content that I need to protect.
Well, let's see. I would probably, Nancy, help me out. It would probably require like some more information as
Yeah.
to like who the customer is, because maybe it could be protected by a contract.
And it depends. I would want to look and see exactly how it's delivered, so I can determine whether or not that's protectable.
Right, because you may
Kind of
have
like my app.
or
you know.
non-disclosure.
Yeah.
It just depends on the delivery method.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you talking about maybe the content that you use, like maybe your service program that you offer, like in the content, maybe for like a copywriting purpose? Is that what you're more so asking?
It was Wida.
Quanda, I think that's
Her name is Wida. Her name's Wida.
Lita. I'm sorry.
She said could be, yes.
Yes, you can copyright your materials, and all of that.
So I think probably the best thing is for her to contact both of you, and get a consultation. So then you can find out exactly, what to do. That's what I would do. The
Janice
next
said
one,
Contract, you
Go
can
ahead.
have that your intellectual property is protected.
Mhm.
Janet said she had a t-shirt on Etsy for 3 years. After 3 years, Etsy said I couldn't promote it, but only in one color. I had it in other colors and they didn't remove them.
Yeah,
So are you
Etsy is
thinking maybe
really,
that somebody had trademarked the color, the design in a different color?
Maybe.
It could be because with a trademark, you can
yes.
claim colors. Like you can say my logo only appears in gray and pink. And so that's what I want. I typically would tell folks, especially if they're new, if their business is relatively new, you may end up rebranding. You may want to use orange and green. So I would tell them typically to submit the picture, the image in black and white and maybe gray. Because when you do that, you can use whatever color you want. But if they're telling her she can't use, I'm wondering if someone ended up getting some kind of
It
a
sounds
protection.
like someone was stalking and seeing how much how frequent the product was being purchased. So they jumped on the bandwagon, and all it takes is one person to report something on Etsy, and then they file a claim and they just shut you down. And that's another reason why it's very important to have yourself on other platforms, because when you're on other people's platforms, they could tell you what to do. But if you have your own platform, you could do what you want to do. So,
and be familiar with the legal requirements.
Yeah, you might not be able to sell it on Etsy. Like if I had this sweater right here, maybe someone said to me that I can only carry in white, and so that's all I can sell. But then I can say probably more items or more pictures or more colors are available on my website at You can still sell the item how you want to sell it. And that's another thing. When you guys are doing websites or you're venturing out, make sure that the pictures that you're using are from a copy-free source. You cannot just Google a picture and then download it and then use it on your website. There are certain sources that say that you can utilize their pictures for free, or you pay a monthly fee, or you pay for the picture. So make sure that if you're getting pictures for your websites or things like that, or even social media, that you are paying for it, because just if you use it as a social media post and it's not approved, it's not something that's free, that you're giving someone the right to send you a cease and desist letter, or DM to say, hey, that's my picture, you can't use that, and so forth and so on. So make sure you keep that in mind. So there's my picture of my shirt my daughter made. Yeah. That would be something that you might need to talk with one of these two ladies about, Janice, because you probably need to go back to Etsy and file a recourse to say, hey, this information was sent to me in error. It needs to be changed, and this is my stuff. And So you might need to contact one of them and ask them how you can go about doing that, because if
That's
it
a
is
Tony
something,
issue.
yeah. You said that's a who?
Tony, that's a Tony issue.
Oh, that's a Tony issue. Okay, so direct
Also,
that to
trademark
Tony.
it. Use that as a sign to trademark it and hurry up. Look.
So you need to reach out to Tony. It's real, and it definitely is real, and
Mhm.
it's not nice. It's not good to get a cease and desist letter. I mean, I had
No.
one myself. And I was like, man, and I knew it. So I had to redo everything, all my branding, all my logo. Had to make sure it was totally different from this person's, and it was what it was. But after that, I made sure that I had, because it's not just enough to get the domain. You gotta make sure it's good. And I'm gonna share in the chat. I recommend, when you're getting your domains from places, I like, and this is just it's not attached to anything, affiliate or anything. I like the company Namecheap. And the reason why I like them is because with other companies, you may pay $1 for your domain for the first year, but then the next year you pay like $34 because, you have to pay the fee. And then you have to also pay, and I would pay this. People don't think they need this, but it's this thing that says whose is it, and it's a directory of your information. If you don't select it, like in certain domain areas, they'll offer it as optional, and if you don't select it, everyone can see your personal information. When you purchase a domain, they can see your name, your address, your phone number, everything. So with Namecheap, they have that price included, and it doesn't really go over. Like the first year you may pay like $5 or $9 or $10 for the whole year, but then after that it's like $16 or whatever. And I just like to pay, it's important. Like you may be paying $1 from somebody and then paying the $20 who's can it thing, and you're like, oh, I don't need that, I just paid the $1. Well, everyone's going to see your information, your home address, everything. So you might as well just go ahead and just pay like a $5, $9, whatever fee with Namecheap, and register your domain. And you could do for multiple years if you want to, if your prices point is good. But you want to make sure that whenever you think of something, or you think of a domain name, you can go and search and see if it's available. If it's available, go ahead and buy it. Whether you use it or not, buy it, because when you go back, it may not be there.
And lock it in on all social medias too. And lock it in. As soon as you buy it, lock it in all social medias, even on YouTube. If you still not even ready to know if you're on YouTube or not, lock your brand in. And do not let your stuff expire. We work with clients all the time who let stuff expire because they think it's not a big deal. Like Tony shared earlier, it is very hard to get something back, and you may like just be like, "Ciao." But you should have seen me.
Expensive.
Last night I was like, let me go get, look, I had something and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get to it. But like, if you have it, just spend the money and do it especially when you're new to business. If you can do something for a couple of years, go ahead and just bite the bullet and just do it, so you can set it and forget it for a little while. Make sure you put it on your year ahead on your calendar, or 2 years ahead. Like, shoot, I'm so for real about not letting nothing expire now. I even do my car registration for 2 years at a time because it's cheaper. So I'm like, just go ahead and get it, lock it in, and secure yourself. It is very important, especially in this day and age where, back in the day you could do it and you'd be like, oh, nobody else. But baby, these people are people that aren't even for real about business. They're locking stuff in because some people just buy stuff because it's money making opportunity for them just to flip it and set it. They're not even really trying to do business like that, but they see you booming. You got these people that watch you on social media and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, this person is starting to boom. This is the thing. Like, I'm gonna make reference to this. 50 Cent did a thing where he had a beef with a person in the industry, and that person was a celebrity and they didn't secure their business, and he went and bought their business and their domain name, and then was like, now you gotta come see me. And like, you gotta buy the trademark from me, your domain, and your business back. And this person had a viral business already, and they hadn't secured their brand.
Yeah, definitely have to be mindful. So this is the last call for questions. If you have a question, make sure you put it in the chat. If not, we're going to say goodnight and thank everyone for coming on. Usually we have a roundtable, networking, and things like that, but I don't think we're going to do that tonight. The software that does that is not it's not working, so we're not gonna do that. But if you have questions, both speakers have put their information in the chat, and then I'll make sure that everyone receives the replay and the slides to this presentation so that you can get the most information for the time that you spent. We thank you for sharing your evening with us. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I'm going to say thank you, ladies. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Nancy,
Thank you
for taking out the time to share with us your information. We greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Good night.
Awesome. All right. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.